Hey guys, it's Brian again. Today we're going to be looking at a 440 impact. Customer says that right in the middle of using it, lost pressure. Everything was good, spraying along, then all of a sudden it just boom, no pressure. So a variety of things could be wrong here. It could be anything from a piece of trash, bad ball, bad packings, just got air in the system. So we're going to kind of do a quick check of several things to see if we can figure out what it is. Maybe this will help you out when you're on the job. Before we get started, safety. Always wear your safety glasses and appropriate safety gear. Make sure there's no shock hazard, pressure hazards, things of that nature before you do anything. And as I said before, this is not a substitute for taking your equipment to a certified repair shop. They know what they're looking at. This is just to help you out in a pinch. And as I've mentioned before, this is a working shop. There are times when I have to stop the videos so I can help a customer. And I try to do my videos straight through so you can see firsthand what you've got in real time. But there are times that I do have to stop the videos. So let's get started. So as I said, the customer said there's no pressure. They were using it, and all of a sudden, boom, it just stopped giving them pressure. So I went ahead and put it in a bucket of water. And I got the prime valve open, and anytime you open the prime valve on an unknown situation, always open the prime valve slowly. Don't just whip it down because you could create a mess real quick. So you'll ease down into it to ease the pressure off, and you'll know at that point as you're easing it down if it's flowing out into the bucket or if it's building pressure in the prime hose. If you're building pressure here without it dumping out, stop opening that prime valve because you got a good chance of rupturing that prime hose and creating a big fat mess. So here we are. So I'm going to turn it on with the prime valve open, and we're going to see what kind of delivery we're getting out of the prime hose into this bucket. And you see he didn't bother to clean it up at all, so we already got paint in the water here. So we're going to turn it on and see what we get out of the prime hose. I'm going to turn the pressure down because I don't need it wide open. So I'm going to turn the switch on. See no bubbles. Oh, there we go. Got a bubble here and there. So I'm going to stop here real quick. I've got nothing flowing out. So what I like to do is take a hammer. While it's running on prime, I'm going to hit it right here on this block. And what that does, there's a lower ball. You've heard probably this before in some of the other videos. There's a lower ball and an upper ball. And if there's trash in there, if the ball is stuck, hitting it with the hammer while it's running can dislodge the trash. So we're going to turn it back on and hit it. You can also push the valve here. Called a pusher valve. Apparently he's never pushed it before. It's kind of stuck. We got fluid now. So we're going to close the prime valve. So it builds pressure and it stops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to incrementally increase the pressure and open the prime valve periodically to make sure that it's building pressure and stopping at each level. This will tell me, see right now, you've got pressure, but that don't mean your packings are actually good. So as we increase this pressure, when it comes to a point where the machine wants to keep running and nothing's coming out of the prime hose, but the machine is still running, then we can still have debris in the pump, or we can have a situation where the packings are going bad. Pressure's all the way up. Okay, now we have pressure, and the machine is stopping. The prime valve is opening and closing. There's no leakage at our prime hose over here, and the prime valve is functioning properly, but something doesn't feel right. Okay, so I've got pressure, everything seems on the surface to be doing what it should. But when I open that prime valve, I'm going to show you here. When I open that prime valve, and this is maximum pressure, I'm getting material. But does that seem like you're releasing 3,300 pounds of pressure in a hurry by opening that prime valve? No, it doesn't. So, I don't think we have enough pressure on the machine. I think that's where his actual problem is. When he's pulling the trigger, he's getting pressure, but it's fading down low because the machine is not turning on rapidly enough because you're getting a false reading on your transducer, which is in here. This is what measures the pressure. So I'm thinking this is where our problem is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect his hose, put my gun and hose on it, and we're going to get an actual pressure reading on it. And there's no need in you watching me take this off and put my hose on. So unlike normal, I'm going to stop the video because I don't like a lengthy video of just monotonous things. So I'm just going to take this off and put my hose on it. We'll come right back. All right, so we're back. So we're going to go through the same process. I'm going to turn it on with the prime valve open to get it primed back up. Then I'm going to turn the prime valve off. My gun and hose has a pressure gauge on it. So we're going to watch the pressure gauge to see what this does. Get this off so you can see a little better. Anything in this area is where we want it to be at maximum pressure. We're at maximum pressure on the pressure control. So we're going to turn it on, let it prime, and then we're going to turn the prime valve off to watch what the gauge does. Okay, so you see pressure control is turned all the way up, and we're only sitting at about, looks like maybe 1,600 psi. 1,700, somewhere in there, which is not maximum pressure. So we have a definite issue with our pressure control. Pressure control or our actual measurement. Typically, it's going to be the measurement. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Turn this off. We're going to open up the prime valve real easily to let that pressure off. So, with experience of 32 years, I could tell when I opened the prime valve that the pressure just didn't feel correct. Something wasn't right. So with that being said, I'm in the mind of replacing the transducer. This is my first thought right here. Your packings are good. The machine stops running. When the machine stops running, it only does it for one reason only, and that's because it's told that you've reached the maximum pressure that you have set on your pressure control. And in this case, we are not, because we're maximum and we're not sitting at about 3,200 psi. So we're going to remove some of these items here so we could check our transducer. So we're going to unplug the machine, and I'm going to move kind of quickly because there's a few steps here and they're messy and basically repetitive, but I'm going to show you exactly what to do here. And like I said, this is a 440, and this same process is going to be true with the 640 and the 540 as well. Get his hose off of this machine here. Adding weight and just something extra to deal with. So we're going to move this out of the way. Put the block underneath the blade. I pulled the clip, the pusher clip, out of the bottom here. It goes right in here, comes out, and then I'm going to tap around on the pusher valve to break it loose in the block. Don't hit this thing like you're driving a nail, because you're going to be replacing it if you do. Let me move this down a little bit. Maybe this will be a little better here. Okay, get that out of the way. So I got it sitting on a block of wood over here, and we're going to tap down loosen it. If you hit this too hard, you're going to be replacing it, because this is not high quality metal. This is just an amalgam of different metals cast into the design they needed. So move this prime hose out of the way, and we're going to remove the 2 bolts under here. Pickup hose, back. Now we're going to come back to our stand. Excuse me. Maybe. The leg's in the way. Can't remove the leg though. We got to have the leg. So you got an Allen bolt here and an Allen bolt here. We're going to remove those 2 bolts. Alright, those are the only bolts you're going to need to remove to pull the block down. Lay this back down. Come back over here. Now we're going to work the block down. And you can do it by pushing on it. And then once you got a gap, in here, then you can pry down the block. Don't pry too hard, because if you do, you could damage your piston. I'll show you where you could damage it at. So now you get it down far enough. I don't know if you can see, so I'm going to kick a light up here real quick. You can see your piston and the connecting rod. This is the transducer. That's what we're looking for. And when you pull this down, be careful, because there's a wire on here that you don't want to damage. So you pull it down, and you can go forward or backwards, either way. If there's build up pain on it, you might have to tap it with a hammer. When you get it loose, it'll just slide back. Easily pull out, and if this does not come out, reach your finger in, you can wiggle it around. You can pull the cover off the side and push it down in the hole. So you're going to pull that down, unclip it. It looks like an old phone line connection is what it looks like. Grab you a 3/4 inch wrench. Leave all of this alone. And what I was saying about prying it down, if you pry too hard, see how the piston's got a T shape to it? You break these tabs off of it and you're screwed. You got to buy another piston. And I always recommend a set of packings when you replace a piston. So let's not do that. So we're just going to remove the transducer is what we're going to do. So we got it on there. I'm going to loosen this up. Once you got it loose, just unscrew it. After you take it out, you want to look at it, play with it, figure out how it works, go for it. Otherwise, it's going to do you no good. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but pull that back, there's an O-ring. You want to make sure that O-ring stays on it. If that white O-ring is not here, it's in there. You need to pull it out, because you don't want to double up on the O-rings, because your new one's going to come with that O-ring on it. So, we're going to lay that to the side. And on the 440, 540, 640, 740, 840, 940, 1040, so on and so forth, they all use the same type of transducer. Some of them will have in this case, this is going to be the short wire. It's a 704 492A, but it also has a jumper. Some of the bigger machines, 640, 740, 840 up, they have a jumper, or this wire may actually be longer. If this wire is longer, it's actually a different number. But it's the same transducer with just a different length wire on it. So now all we do is put this back in. Don't cross thread it. The block is aluminum. The transducer is stainless. And if you try to force that thing, you're going to damage the block. Then you're going to be buying a new block. So I'm trying to tighten this back up. You're going to want it tight. If it's not tight, it's going to leak. If it leaks, you got to take it back off and do it again. Because there's no way to tighten this once it's on the machine. good and tight. It's a little bit tricky here, so you want to be careful. Make sure you support this block as you're attaching the wire. If you drop it, you're going to snatch it out of that jumper and you could damage the jumper or the transducer. So we're just going to plug it back in, and it only plugs in one way. Anytime you got to force something in the hole, you're not doing it right. It should slide in easily. Push the block back up in the hole. Don't force it. Slide it in the hole easily. You're going to line up the T on the top of that piston with the connecting rod, so that if the connecting rod is like this, the T is going to slide in like so. Alright. Line it up. Hold on the block. Tilt it back. And you see there's a gap between the pin and the block. Those pins go in a hole right where my finger's at. There's another pin at the back. So what you want to do is you want to push this block up onto the body of the machine. Best way to do that, stick a block of wood down or something to press against. And you just need to go up just enough to touch the pins. Stick another block under here. That's all there is to that. So you pushed it down. And you can see the pin is nearly in the hole. You want both of those pins to be in the hole when you tighten this up. Hold the block. Lay it back. So are we in the video? Can't tell. We're going to bring this up here. I'm not a cameraman, I'm a mechanic. So once you've got it set up, take your bolts, stick them back in the hole. Make sure they line up on the inside. Give them a tweak till they bite. Put the other one in. Make sure it's lining up. Give it a tweak. It's biting. Run it all the way in. You want them tight, but not overly tight. Now it's back together. Alright, kick it back down. There's a lot of up and down on this, I know. So, now we've got to put our pickup tube back on. You'll see on your pickup tube, you got this right here. You want that to line up on the back corner of the block here or over here. You don't want it on the side, you don't want it in front. There's a corner for it to marry to. I prefer this left side more than I do the right side. We're just going to slip it up there. Hold it in place. Make sure you're straight across, not at an angle, and then tap up on it. When you tap up on it, you'll see this gap will close up. You see that slot? There's another one on this side, right here. That's what this goes in. So you're going to take this, move the prime hose, I keep dropping it. Move the prime hose out of the way, slip it into the grooves, just push it in. And to make sure it's in there right, if you'll press down on the hose, it should not come loose. If it comes loose, you didn't have it locked in proper. Now, I'm going to put the hose back on. Tighten it up. After we tighten it up, I'm going to turn it on. Well, we're going to plug it in first. Then we're going to turn it on. The machine is on prime, set on maximum pressure. We're going to prime out the air because we just had the pickup tube off. And once we prime out the air, we're going to take a look at the pressure gauge and see what we got. So that tells us we either got trash in the prime valve or the prime valve is bad. So we're going to try to blow out the trash on the prime valve by opening and closing it while it's trying to build pressure and see if it immediately stops. There we go. All right. That's all there is to it. Took, what, 20 minutes to show you how to do it, but it's not really that complicated. And once you get the hang of it, it's not that big of a deal. If you got any questions, you got a request, drop them in the comments below. Meanwhile, subscribe, and we'll talk with you later. Be safe. Thank you.